Hello, good evening. Welcome everybody back to Celtic World Order. It's a privilege and a pleasure to have you back, particularly after what's been an incredibly long day. Don't know about any of you guys and girls out there, but certainly I am exhausted. And the man immediately at my side here, he was at the game, he lived it live, so he is absolutely nerve shredded as well. So who is he? We mentioned it last night. This will be our newest contributor. It is with my pleasure to welcome and introduce everyone to Mr. Josh McCafferty. Josh, welcome aboard, my friend.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much for having us. I don't think I could have started with a more dramatic game. Like you were saying just before we went on here, we were dreading making my debut after a Celtic defeat. But thankfully, pulled through in the end. Unbelievable in every sense of the word game this afternoon. Let's be honest. Had everything. For the neutral, it was incredible. For us fans, perhaps not so incredible. Perhaps, like you say, nervy. Everything about it was just.
It was.
I don't know. Tired after it. You come out of the game with a sore head. It was one of those ones. And as the players were taking the penalties, my stomach was churning, feeling sick. Unbelievable. But thankfully, pulled through in the end, and no better time to make the debut.
Well, that's it. As I say, we were absolutely bricking it. The messages were going. I was like, mate, I can't believe you're going to have to come on to because you know what? It's better to come on to drama, isn't it, and get over the line and talk about everything and anything with a result at the end of it rather than what could have been. And as it says there, Hollywood Hampden, we manage it. We just edge out a very robust and up for it Aberdeen.
Yeah.
It was filled with drama. So with some disaster in terms of our play, but we get there in the end. So we're going to go through it, and there's a lot to unpack. It could be a long one, strap yourselves in. But before we do all that, of course, there's the wee bit of housekeeping. We do it all the time. We'll continue to do it. As we say all the time here at CWO, right now our operation is still very small, but there's always room for some rapid expansion. So if you like what you see, you like what you hear, then you know what to do. Go and hit that subscribe button. That means every time a show goes out, you'll get notified. You can also go a wee bit further. You can give it a like. And if you want to go mental, you can share it. It just gets more eyeballs on us. Helps with that fabled algorithm that makes you get recommended to other people that have been watching other Celtic content. It gets more people in here, grows the community. If you want to check us out also, you can get us on X at CWOpod1888. Myself, Josh, Paddy, anyone else who comes on, their handles are on there as well. And last but not least, old school Facebook at Celtic World Order Podcast. That's it. That's the formalities out the way. Let's get down to business, Josh. We didn't get down to business to begin with, though, did we?
No, we did not. 2 minutes in, it was the worst possible start. In honesty, I think the ball in behind the defence should be dealt with better. There's a culmination of issues in terms of that goal. I think Cameron Carter-Vickers is a bit suspect for the ball in behind. And then Joe Hart could perhaps be quicker off his line in terms of he's pretty much static when the ball comes in, and Miovski gets a good enough run at it. Joe Hart does get a good leg to it, but eventually does go in. Poor start, very poor start, and I think no one really had any worries at that point, though. I certainly didn't. It's the best time, if you're going to concede in a game, the best time you could concede. And at the end of the day, it did obviously have an impact, but at the same time, it was to get that out the way early doors, and then the team kind of built on from that. Eventually went 2-1 up, obviously, and like we know, conceded dodgy goals, which we'll get on to later on.
It was a rapid start, wasn't it? You know, me and Paddy sat here, we spoke about it. I spoke about it more as well. You know, Aberdeen were a team that are wallowing in the league as it were, but they come into it with absolutely nothing to lose. To start off, it comes, as you say, it couldn't be a worse start for us, but it does come a wee bit from our own. We're a wee bit sort of flat about in those early stages. Scales, a guy who, I'll just get it straight out, were you surprised to see Scales start? I mean, I certainly was.
Yeah.
He puts the ball up the park, scrappy into it.
Yeah, perhaps I wasn't actually surprised to see him start. I thought he was going straight back into the 11. Whether I agree with that or not, I don't agree with it. As we'll come to probably see throughout the rest of the show tonight. I thought Nawrocki should have kept his place because he played really well last week. Scales, he's just been ever present throughout the campaign, and Rodgers, whether we agree with it or not, trusts him, and he sees him as one of his first choice centre backs now. I'm surprised he's not actually signed a new contract yet. Maybe that's to come over the summer. I'm not sure. But
after that.
I know. It was not surprising for me, especially the club's social media activity on Friday. Scales was at the heart and soul of it. He was in pictures on Instagram, Twitter, etc., X, and he was there. So I firmly expect him to come back in today, and he didn't do too good of a job, did he?
No, that's the thing. As I says, I sat last night and I spoke about the team and I says who I thought was going to come in, I didn't think would come in. I'm with you. I would have went with Narovsky. I thought that, we need to try something different. We know what we're getting with Scales. We will get round to it because we know it. We saw exactly what we can be getting with Scales. He comes in, as you says, it's a bit sixes and sevens. The ball breaks through. Hart is unlucky. He gets his body behind it, but it's that finish. And it's a guy that I highlighted straight away. In fact, two guys. It's Clarkson, who I highlighted, an eye for a pass. He threads it in. Miovski does what Miovski's been doing all season. But how did you feel from you're in the stadium, you're sitting there, you're live. What's the feeling as soon as that goal goes in? What was the sense around it? Was there a sense of calm, or was it?
I would say a sense of calm, to be honest. It's like when you concede 2 minutes in at Celtic Park against St Johnstone or something like that, you wouldn't necessarily be worried, would you? And I certainly wasn't at the beginning of the game. When that goal went in, it was very much of the mindset that Celtic were going to pull it back quite contently and quite comfortably. That didn't eventually come to pass, but not much worry or angst within the stadium compared to what there was at the end of the game. So, eventually they do pull it back 20 minutes later, which you do expect fully. Maybe if time went on, maybe at half time, if it was still 1-0 to Aberdeen, then there would be a sense of a wee bit of worry and anxiety. But in the day,
as you've said, we start to work away. We lose the early goal, and maybe knocks the stuff out a wee bit in the first, because you want to obviously get your foot on the ground, you want your foot in the ball, pass it around, settle in. So it became a wee bit rushed there. But we did sort of settle down. I don't think any up until the equaliser was particularly vintage. We touch on the starting lineup again. We had a Cal McGregor straight back in there. He was running. There was a lot of running about. I still don't think he looks particularly fully fit, but we do get it to go around 20 minutes, and it comes from Kuhn. It actually starts off, and it should be Kyogo should have not the scores here. He robs the ball, he's through on goal, dithers a wee bit, and his shot is fortunately slid away by the defender right in the path of Kuhn. He just strokes it home. What's your thoughts there as that goes in? Are you thinking, firstly, listen, we'll take any goal, but are you thinking Kyogo does all the work and then makes a backside of it?
Yeah, I know. It was that's exactly what it was. He done really well to win it back. We've not seen that side of his game as much this season, I don't feel, as perhaps what we've seen it in, well, especially under Ange Postecoglou, him pressing and actually being successful in the press like he was on, and it was Angus MacDonald who gave the ball away. But at the end of the day, if he doesn't finish it, it was good Kuhn was there showing that awareness to get up the line as soon as we win it back and being there for an easy tap-in. Good for him to get the goal in a big game. And there was a sense within that, in the stadium at the time, that this is it, Celtic bring it back now, going to go a couple of goals ahead potentially. Obviously that didn't happen, but Kuhn just got the ball straight away, just started running back, and that shows him what his mentality, or how he understands the mentality of the club. Perhaps if you had a guy who's joined, it's his second game for Celtic or something like that, and he scores in a semi-final, maybe he runs straight to the fans and celebrates and gives it the big one. But Kuhn, as soon as that goes in, he's running straight back to the halfway line with the rest of his teammates to get back in, and that shows how he's understood the club and his mentality, which is good to see.
I think it's, as you say, at that point, I'm thinking, right, there's the goal. As you say, he runs back. It all looks rather down to business. As the half goes on and as the game goes on, actually, for me, Kuhn, he takes a knock, obviously. He's got the burst nose. Maybe looks if his game's over. He does come back and he still plays away. He gets the goal. But he's one guy that when we start getting round to breaking down the team and how the general performance was, he's one I've got a real disappointment in. I think over the piece, if we remove his goal in the early stages of his game, similar to his previous performances, I think he drops out of it. But another guy's also Yang. He will certainly get round to him. In terms of that first half, there wasn't too much action after the goal, was there? We think that's going to kick us into life, but it actually becomes it's Aberdeen that continue the press. And around about 40 minutes, are we not a wee bit lucky to get away with one? And it's that big diagonal, it's that big ball again. It bounces, it evades both Carter Vickers and Scales. And fortunately for us, it's Gartman. And it's It's a typical defender's finish, isn't
it? Yeah, that was a never one we got away with. Exactly. Just returning back on the point on Kuna, I would agree with you. He did drop off, and like you look at the game against St Mirren at home last week, you're wanting him. That's the type of game he would look to take hold of and outstand and have an outstanding performance in. And the Rangers game as well didn't particularly stand out there. He did come on a good run of form. You look at the Livingston game in the Cup and St Johnstone at home, and then Livingston again in the league. He did play well, and he is one of the first choice wingers at the minute, just based on the options that are there. And he was a marquee January signing, but like you say, did drop off a little later on in the game. First half, wasn't too much went on. Like you say, chances pretty limited. Even throughout the 90 chances were pretty limited. Teams were just clinical in front of goal. I think Celtic had something like 5-6 shots on target, and it was round about the same for Aberdeen. Possession was pretty even as well when you look at it. So pretty even game on the whole. And the game really kicked into life in the second half.
Yeah, but just before we get to the half time, though, there is an instant and it goes to VAR. And I don't know about you, but it seemed like a bit of a confusing one, did it not? Again, it's everybody's favourite villain at the moment. It's Scales. I personally don't think there's not much he can really do, is there? It's typical as we've seen him, and as we've seen him through the course of this game, where he just gets turned in a wee bit and he's backtracking, he's side by side, his hand running, it kicks up, it's out in front of him.
Yeah.
What did you think he wouldn't actually? Obviously, you came back and you've rewatched some highlights and stuff.
Yeah.
What are you thinking around? But we've spoke about referees, we've spoke about VAR, we've spoke about the mess that it is. They turn around and say, "Oh, we've looked at it. We're unsure if it's in the box or out the box. So it might be a penalty, but not it can because it's out." Is that just a wee bit of another embarrassment for the way VAR and Scottish football's going? Because
VAR's not been a successful introduction. Let's be honest. It was brought in to make games flow better, make decisions better, and generally give fans a better experience at games and make things more accurate. And I think it's done the opposite of all of those things. And Scales, the incident itself, there's not much you can do about it. You look at handballs that have been given, the one in the Glasgow Derby, perhaps Connor Goldson, where he elbows it. That is not a natural movement of the hand when you go up to header a ball to put it out like that. The one Scales, it's completely natural to be running with your hands like this, and if the ball hits off it, you cannot help that. It's not deliberate. It's a natural movement of the hand, and it's not a penalty. No, even if it was outside the box, whatever it was, it's not a free kick anyway.
No, and that's the thing. That's where it comes in. We there was any question. Well, if you weren't unsure if it was inside or out the box, should you be reviewing it? Because as you say, we don't use VAR to look back at retrospective. That could have been a free kick. So
yeah, I know that's true. I think the thing with that is VAR only looks at, is it 3 or 5 things or specific things, whether it be a penalty, a potential red card, an offside, a foul in the build up to a goal. So that's the thing there. I think Celtic perhaps they didn't get away with one of the Scales one, but the Gartman chance to get away with.
Definitely.
I thought he was going to give the penalty actually. Just the way things have gone with Celtic this season, Hearts away, we're done with a lot of bad decisions that day, and then Rangers at Ibrox are done with a bad penalty decision that day. And I thought it was going to be the same. Just when you see the VAR coming up in the ground in the big screens, you get an instant sense of something bad is about to happen.
100%.
Thankfully, and I was a bit shocked actually when play was waved on and there was no penalty. But
it was a sigh of relief, but it was only a wee short sigh, wasn't it? Because
exactly. It was quite quick in fairness. They didn't take too long to decide that one compared to what they've done with others before. No,
and that was it. That was as far as the first half went. It was fairly underwhelming, wasn't it? But we go in, all's even. Listen, we talked about the first half. We spoke about a few guys. And before we get to the teams coming back out, I said at the start of the week that I thought Yang was a shocker. He shouldn't have went in. And I was shouting for a guy that we'll get around to later on, which was James Forrest. I just feel that once again, when we're looking at Kuhn had wee spells, as you rightly said, I felt. But I didn't feel that Yang really ever got into the match, failing to take on his man, failing to make any sort of meaningful impact on the game whatsoever. If I'm being quite brash about it, he was a disgrace to the Celtic shirt.
Yeah,
I would have removed him before half-time. So when he comes back out at half-time, are you shocked?
No, I wasn't shocked per se. Listen, his performance today, his performance last week against St Mirren is not Celtic quality. Let's be honest, he's had spells this season, there's no doubt about that, but he's come into games and he's done well. But today, so poor. St Mirren home last week, so poor. I'd be very surprised to see him in the starting lineup next week away at Dundee. Yeah, just ineffective. And every time he looked to take on his man, he didn't particularly look confident.
No.
When you're looking at your wingers, guys, don't like comparing people to Jota because it's never really going to happen. We're never going to get a player like Jota again in the near future, at least. Him, even Maeda, even Lewis Palmer at times, they have confidence when they're taking on players. Yang looked short of that today. Didn't look like he was going to do anything. I think he had one instance in the second half where he had a shot on goal. He kind of got in behind the defence and had a shot, but didn't come to anything.
No.
Yeah, it was very poor today. He is 22, and from a 22-year-old, as much as we talk about Celtic looking to develop talent, etc., at 22, you're looking for something a bit better than that. See if it was 18, 19, I could perhaps understand and have a bit more sympathy towards a performance like that. But 22, Celtic are in a critical point in the season. You in a semi-final of the Cup, 5 league games to go after this. You need quality, and Yang was the opposite of quality today.
I can't agree anymore, mate. As I say, I've been beating that drum constantly, and that is the thing. And maybe it's a sad indictment of where we find ourselves. We don't want to be completely doom and gloom, but as you say, he's 22, and Steve says 31 appearances, 1 goal, 3 assists. This is actually pathetic, and I can't disagree with that at all. We're looking at it, and we've got these guys coming in, and again, we always talk about Rodgers, and I've been praising him and singing his praises about how his mindset and how he looks at things and how we analyse. I'm sorry, you don't need to be an elite manager to be able to look at that 45 minutes that he put in and simply know that that guy just doesn't have it and he shouldn't come back out. But he does. And it's more of the same. There was a lot of key players I felt in that first half that never really got their foot in the ball, really got us motoring. And it's more of the same for the first 5 minutes. It's just going through the motions, passing it about. I think the first chance comes around 50 minutes, is it? As Rio Hatat, and he slides it into Yang. He chops in. Has he got to take the shot there? He's got Martin. He's got O'Reilly shouting, arms out, centre, give us the ball. Is that him trying to desperately make amends? A young, naive, inexperienced player desperately trying to make up for that?
Yeah, perhaps when you have a guy like that, he's had a first half like he has, he'll know he's played poor. Let's be honest. And you obviously, anytime you're playing football, even when you're playing fives with your mates or whatever you're doing, you want to make up and you want to atone for when you make an error in a game of football. That's only natural, and perhaps that's what he was looking to do. And it is, like you say, don't like to be negative about Celtic at times, but with in the last 5 games, 6 games have got to go now in this season. It's a very sad indictment when James Forrest is arguably your best performing winger at the minute, because Daisen Maeda is out injured, I would say.
Yeah, no, that's the thing, and it's going to be real hard decisions to make, isn't it, between between now and the end of the season. We obviously saw Forrest, and we'll get round to him because he comes on, and he comes on just shortly thereafter, in 62 minutes, there's the 2 subs. Yang finally gets put out his misery, and he's brought off along with McGregor, and we get the introduction, of Forrest and Iwata. Iwata, again, I was maybe expecting him to start. I thought that we would have still, with McGregor still not looking 100%, I would have probably have went for Iwata, but he doesn't. He comes on as a sub. We get McGregor for the best bit of an hour there. What do you think is the deal with that? Do you think that's Rodgers trying to speed up the process of getting McGregor back fit? Or do you think it's a sort of meaningless task? Because I think other than getting a runabout, he didn't really do much up to that point for me.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think McGregor had a good game today. I wouldn't have started him like you say. I'd have played Tomoki Iwata. I thought Iwata was going to continue, and McGregor, he didn't look 100% fit. And the games he's come back, he's not looked 100% fit. And Iwata, I thought when he came on, Iwata actually had a decent enough game. picking up bits and pieces like he always does in the midfield.
Yeah.
Accurate passing, that's what you expect from him. And he's a more defensive-minded player than McGregor, and maybe you needed a bit more of that to bring a bit more security in front of one of the dodgy centre halves. But McGregor, I don't know. It's hard with him because he's a key player. When he's in his groove, and when he's 100% fit, he's one of the best players in Scotland.
Of course, no doubt about it.
No doubt. But he doesn't even look 80% fit for me. I think he looks about 75 max. And when you're in a title race now, like Celtic are, you need guys who are not scared to go into challenges. Perhaps when you're nursing a wee injury here or there, you're a bit dubious of going into a 50-50 ball and committing everything because you don't want to get injured again. And for me, I'd rather have Tomoki Iwata, who's fully fit and firing at the minute, starting games consistently, playing and starting, than a 70% McGregor. Especially in a game like today. See if we were Celtic playing Rangers today, perhaps, okay, I can understand playing McGregor, the magnitude of the game, but it's Aberdeen who, we didn't expect them to be as good as we were today, let's be honest. But struggling in the league, in 8th or 9th, perhaps a wee bit relegation threatened in terms of dropping down into the playoffs. It should have been fine starting Iwata, and he came on and he done pretty well.
No, he did. He came on. He didn't do too badly himself, actually. But yeah, that was the thing that was frustrating. Obviously, we've just touched on McGregor, but I thought up until that point, I've mentioned Yang, I've mentioned Kuhn, but I don't think that any of the guys that we were really talking about with a lot of hopes, didn't we, get into this game, were like big park, expansive pitch. It's going to play right into your hands. We're playing against a team, they are, as you rightly say, they're finding themselves in a wee bit of trouble. And I just thought in the 90 minutes regular time that some of the guys that we've really looked to do something special would pick themselves up and really, come to the fore. McGregor, it was what it was. Guys around him, though, Rio Hatate, we've expected so much for him, and when he has came back in, you've seen how much he's lifted our game. You've seen how vital he is to the side. He showed nothing for me personally up until that pass that he slides in. Yang, he hadn't really done anything either. Was there a disappointment for you? Was he a guy, because he was a guy that I'd actually bookmarked to say will set up a goal or score?
Yeah, he has been so critical for Celtic in the past weeks, and a lot of the upturn in form, it comes as no coincidence that's when Hatate's come back into the team, and perhaps it's no coincidence today that Celtic didn't perform too well, and Hatate didn't perform too well as well, because he's that key to the way Celtic play, the way they work in midfield. And yeah, it wasn't the greatest performance from him. He's been so consistent since he's came back from injury, surprisingly consistent in my opinion, because I didn't expect him to come back and do what he's done since he's returned, if I'm honest. But he's come back, last couple of games done well, but today, yeah, I wasn't too impressed. Like a lot of the players today, I wasn't too impressed. Like Alistair Johnston, Greg Taylor, Liam Scales, Yang as well. Wasn't too many consistent good performers today in the team, and Hatate was part of that. And when you have a bad team performance like Celtic did, it wasn't the greatest performance. If we lost that shootout, but coming in today onto this show and saying how bad of a performance it was, and when you have bad performances, you're going to have guys in the team resultantly who play badly.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Listen, nobody wants to sit here in victory and sound too negative, but we've also got to live in the real world. We are a Celtic podcast. We're here to talk about what we saw. We're here to talk about it openly and honestly. We've got eyes in our head. We could see what's there. We take the win. We're grateful for it. But let's not kid ourselves on. But let's get back to the action anyway. We digress, but that's what these discussions are all about. So the subs come on, and the guy that I'd been canvassing for, Paddy had been canvassing for, a lot of you in the comments have been canvassing for, is Forrest. And it's almost as if it's the old pro coming on. Old pro, he's not exactly over the hill, but he comes on and he turns around and basically says to, Yang and Kuhn, here's what you should have done. Because he's on the pitch under 2 minutes, and in that period, 2 runs, picking up the ball, exactly where you need to see him, direct charging, purposeful run, straight in. First one, he gets a shot off and it's blocked. Second one, finds the back of the net. You want to talk about impact? Does it get any better than that?
Yeah, it was Absolutely brilliant. A lot of people, myself included, actually, when Brendan Rodgers said a couple of weeks ago that James Forrest is Celtic's best winger, I doubted him, and I think a lot of fans alongside me did as well. But he came in today and he proved that mantra correct. Done really well in cutting in from that left-hand side. It reminded me of a goal he scored in a Scottish Cup semi-final against Aberdeen 5 years ago. Wasn't cut in for the right-hand side, curved it into the top left corner. It was a brilliant finish. And it reminded me of that today, cutting in again, finishing it into the bottom corner, and a really good goal. And like you say, just showing guys like Kuhn and Yang, this is what you should do, you know?
Yeah.
And that effectiveness and that we didn't see from a lot of the wingers today.
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing is, he's been doing it for so long, and when we look back at guys like Yang and stuff and their performance today and in general, you can give some allowances, as you rightly say, with somebody like Yang. He's 22, he should know, but it's also quite surprising that you've got guys like Forrest around, and they watch this guy in training every day. You would think probably by that point that they would be picking something up for what they should be doing, but not just that. Even if you're, a young boy or a footballer or whatever, you've obviously got heroes or idols or people you've looked up to. Probably in your position, you would think that you would look at the basics and think, as a winger, I should be asking questions of my man and taking them on. And no, it's sometimes simple is effective.
Yeah,
no fancy, no silly step overs, no trying to chop into the opposite foot, all this kind of stuff. It's old school, it's direct, it's purposeful. He gets his on it. And at that point, I thought, here we go. I felt that it was going to get a lift. Were you expecting it to be a kick on, a turning point, and maybe even go as far to say just ramp up the pressure and start to put a few in?
Yeah, definitely. That's what you expect when Celtic go a goal up in a game like that. You feel expecting it to go on and get another couple of goals. Obviously, a few spanners thrown into the works. And yeah, I would agree with you there. Forrest, like you say, he knows what he's doing. He's a vintage winger, and those are dying. The typical wingers who are just direct, have a shot on goal, or play a good pass. And if James Forrest was a couple of years younger, he'd be one of the first names on that Celtic team sheet right now. And I think it was just a marker of his fitness level that Brendan Rodgers chose to bring him off for Mike Nawrocki late on in extra time when he was the one who was actually subbed on in the first place. And perhaps that's why he didn't start the game. Like myself included, I'd have wanted him to probably get the nod. There was a really good argument for it with the wingers Celtic have. But if you're going to have Forrest, is he capable of playing even 60 minutes, 70 minutes? I don't know. So maybe that's why Brendan's went with Yang, or obviously Palmer. There was a case for starting him as well today. But Forrest, maybe that's why he's not playing, because he's just not fit enough to last even a half or 60 minutes.
I think he certainly contributes, and we'll get around it before he goes off. I actually think he has a wee clash around his knee. It looked as if you saw him limping off, and maybe that's what contributed into it. It's not really been confirmed, because we'll get around to Rodgers' press conference. It was interesting to say the least, but he makes a nuisance himself again anytime he's in. In about 70 minutes, we get the substitution. Kilo comes off, Big Adam either comes on. That was Paddy's main man. He was shouting for him to start. We'll get round to maybe why he didn't start, because again, it was a mixed bag when he came on. Such was the way with all the players. But again, Forrest gets a great chance, and I'll ask you a very basic question. This one, it comes over. It's a great cross in, and he's right centre, traps the ball down. He takes maybe a touch too many. He probably should hit it first time. Easier said than done when you're sitting here in a chair having a beer. But he takes a shot and it's blocked. For you, pivotal moment, it could put us up by 2, it could put us well out of sight. Is it a bad miss, or is it just one of the ones?
Like you say, it's hard for us armchair folks sitting here in hindsight. It's totally different, I guess, when you're out on that field and that pressure and that level of intensity, because every player's fighting for a place in the final, aren't they? Perhaps he doesn't need the extra touch and maybe shoots first time and shoots earlier and the goal goes in and it's happy days and we're not here breaking down a really long game. I know, nerve-wracking. If he scores that, it eases the nerves and Celtic going to win the game comfortably, and we're all praising James Forrest as the hero, which perhaps maybe rightly is in the game because he scored. But he should have probably scored it for me. Maybe if he's a wee bit younger and a wee bit sharper, he puts it away, but
I mean, again, you can all say this, Mark Sharpness. He's coming on. He's been coming on as a wee sort of impact sub time. But listen, we'll give him that one. I thought at the time, you've got to hit that, son. But he doesn't. I can call him son because I'm older than James, believe it or not. But I know what his young face. But no, it is in. That's the thing. That was probably a chance because I felt at that point that perhaps Celtic looked as if we were a wee bit dead in our feet. Don't know how that transcended. I don't know if you saw that in the stadium, but certainly watching on TV when you've got the benefit of all the angles, all the zooming in, you get to see the players' faces. I thought that we looked as if we were running out of energy. I felt as if the standards were dropping, and it was actually Aberdeen, was it not? But they get round to getting their equaliser, but the warning shots keep on coming, and listen, we need to mention it. It's the defensive pairing again. I'm going to go on the side of saying it's more around the sort of scale stuff, but because he comes out, the ball's in the centre, you'll recall it well. Scales does what Scales done all season. He thinks there's a ball, it's like a dog chasing a ball. I'm going to jump up, big stupid header. To be fair, Carter Vickers is in behind him, probably should be better positioned or giving him a call. They both fresh air it. It breaks through to Junior Hoylett, who we'll get on to, because speaking of guys that are maybe over the hill, Junior Hoylett was fresh off the beach for bloody well signing on an emergency loan deal, but he was tearing us apart. Hoylett gets through. I think Hart does the right thing. He manages to narrow the angle, makes himself big in its side netting. But an early let-off before the goal comes for him, is it no?
Yeah, definitely. I think defence has been suspect a lot of times this season from cross balls. Copious goals have been conceded through that way this season. We were speaking about it before I come on. Goals in Europe, goals that have cost us points in the league, and goals that cost us today as well. But yeah, as a warning shot, when you're a goal up in any game, never mind a semi-final, you're going to expect a late surgence from a team to go forward and try and get that equaliser. And maybe Celtic should have been a bit more alert. But like you say, the players did look a bit, I don't know, loss of energy, a wee bit dead in their feet. You could even sense that within the stadium that maybe there was a overall feeling of, oh, this is fine, this game's over, it should be all right. And obviously that turned out to be the opposite of what happened. But yeah, it's just frustrating the way even the defence is, because you look at the goals that have been conceded, they're the exact same. And that was the case today.
No.
It should have been dealt with much better.
It's continually the same thing, because just before Aberdeen score, we get more of the same. It's these cross balls, and everybody's talking about it. I see you all in the comments here mention it. Let us know what you think of these things. Is these basic mistakes that really should be getting ironed out? I spoke about Junior Hoylett. There we go. He hits the side net almost immediately straight after. He gets another great shot, attempt at it. Ball comes over again. Hart comes out and he drops it, and it falls to Hoylett, who makes a shot. Now, the one thing that concerns me is an easy cross ball in, but there's certain players that are completely culpable here. One, and he goes off thankfully shortly after, is Kuhn. Is absolutely unforgivable. The cross comes, he watches as Hoylett makes the run. He's standing dithering on the edge of the box, looking at him, absolutely looking at him. You've got Alistair Johnson completely out of position, and Carter Vickers is finding himself sandwiched in a 2-on-1 position. It's some of the stuff it's schoolboy, and that's exactly what happens as we get through to the goal. It's the exact same thing. The same ball comes in. Palmer, it's a pathetic attempt.
Yeah,
A ball forward.
horrendous. Oh, it's unforgivable. In this type of game, I can understand these sense of there's a couple of players, maybe one player up for Celtic, and if that ball does come off, they're in a one-on-one situation. But with your back to the opposition goal and you cannot see what's behind you, you do not play that pass. I am sure, I've not actually seen that pass he played again yet, but I am sure there would have been another option to go back to, whether it be to Alistair Johnson out at right back, to Moki Iwata alongside him in the midfield. Surely there is a better option than just hoofing it forward and hoping for the best.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's a blind pass. It's absolute stupidity. And guess what? It breaks out. Who does it break to? I'll say it again. Junior Hoylett. And again, the same mistakes that we've seen from our defence time and time again. I've sang his praises, and you turned around and you mentioned Alistair Johnson, a guy whose form had sort of wasn't peaking this game. And he does the exact same thing that our defenders have been doing time and time again. He stands off. He backs off. He invites the cross.
Yeah,
Straight over from Hoylett. And to be fair, it is a great cross, but it is embarrassing from Scales. Carter Vickers has got to take a wee bit of responsibility, but it's predominantly Scales. He's watching. He doesn't know what it is. Completely blindsided. And there's Salker at the back post. Boom, 2 each, and we're in a world of pain.
Yeah, definitely. I think Johnston, it was very similar to what Yang did at Ibrox for the Rabbi Matondo goal. It was like, just stand off, back off, and maybe try show him down the line or show him inside and Hoylett. You know the quality he has, like you say, he's just off the beach, but guys like him and guys like Forrest, as we were discussing earlier, although they're quite old in football terms, not in real life terms, they never lose the knack they have. And it was a really good cross, but the defence has got to be dealing with that better.
Yeah.
Liam Scales.
Sorry, see, just to jump in on that, can I just ask you? He says, but he says about him, he stands off, shows him down the line. He does none of these things, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You know, why are we making the same crucial mistakes defensively? I'll let you elaborate on. I just wanted to ask that one specific thing. Why so deep into a game are we allowing something as foolish as that in a massive game? It happened at Ibrox. It happens in a semi-final. What's going on there?
I don't even know. You'll need to ask whoever the defensive coach is up at Lennoxtown, because surely if you're conceding the same goals throughout the season, back post headers or back post finishes, you've got to consult that in training and practice defending that in training. It's not looks like what's happened. We don't know though. I think Joe Hart, for one of the two of them, I think he could have claimed it, potentially come out and give it a punch like he loves to do. But at the same time, you've got to clear those balls as a centre half when they come into the box, particularly Liam Scales. I don't even think he jumps for one of them. There's one of them I don't think where he jumps.
No, he's kind of almost doing that weird running back and looking thing where he does not have a clue where he is. It's embarrassing.
He's unaware, and like I said to you, if Celtic didn't have the injury struggles they did at the beginning of this season, Liam Scales would have been in an Aberdeen shirt today, because he would have moved up there permanently
100%, mate,
and he'd be playing for them. So that is the standard of first choice centre back at Celtic at the minute. I think that's pretty bad.
It's a pretty sad indictment. But as you say, it happens. Find ourselves, we're in a position here, and we do get chances though. We do get some chances. We get one in too high, and it's for Palma. Comes across with Ida. He headers across goal. Not too much to say there. But then the big man, there's a chance here. Awata bursts into the box, doesn't he? He looks, for me, he's got to be brave. He's got to be confident. He's got to get the shot off. He opts to slide into Ida. The big man, I don't know what he's doing. He slips. He's falling over. It's a terrible, sad effort. And that's it. That's all she wrote. It fizzles out.
Yeah, Ida was... You expect an impact from him. When he came on, there was a sense of anticipation amongst the support that he was going to do something. People rising to their feet, applauding him coming on. And he has done it this season countless times. I've been a big advocate of him since he's signed. And he should have had 1 or 2 goals today. No doubt about that. The one Iwata pulls back. Okay, it's slightly behind him and it's on his left foot. But if you're a striker whose club is demanding around about £6 million for, you're expecting him to put that away. I hate to go back to guys like Giacomakis, who Celtic have had in the past. He's putting that away, and you expect better in that situation from Ida. But I thought he didn't have the best of games actually when he came on. Some of his touches quite poor, and there's a cross as well that he put in at the end of extra time, and he just practically launched it out for an Aberdeen throw-in. So he didn't have the best of impacts today that you would have hoped from him, Adam Ida, but he has been consistent in terms of his goals other than today throughout the campaign since he's joined. So you can perhaps forgive him a little bit because Celtic won today, but if he didn't win today in penalties, then you'd be screaming at Adam Ida for missing that chance.
Oh, 100%. This is the thing. We do eventually manage to get our nose ahead. And again, say it once, say it twice, say it 3 times. It's Forrest. There's impact there. He's direct. He goes forward. He finds Johnson. He cuts it back in. And there's big beautiful Matt. Just Matt Riley, side foots it, top corner, Celtic 3-2 ahead. And you think to yourself at that point, right, we're not looking great, but you're expecting us to, if not kick on, surely you're expecting us to sort of batter down the hatches and just tidy up the play a wee bit, because we get a bit of a break there, do we not? Is one player deciding, I'm going to run forward again, finds the pass, and it's a nice wee bit intricate play. We've not actually really seen much in through that game, to be fair, and we get the goal. Again, you're there. Is there a sense of, ever a sense of relief, or are you still getting put through the ringer? Does the goal go in and you think that's us, we're going to push on now, or are you still absolutely panicking?
It was more jubilant. It felt like a winning goal, and thought it was going to be the winning goal when it went in. I was right behind it, or right in front of it rather, and O'Reilly right into the top corner. Couldn't be more accurate into that corner. It was a really good goal, and yeah, there was a sense of, right, this is a goal that's going to put us through to the final. That's what I certainly thought as well. And outside of the last minute of extra time, in like 119th, 120th minute, that is the time you'd have wanted to score. Right in stoppage time of the first half of extra time, giving you that psychological boost going into the break, that is when you would have wanted to go ahead. And after that, I thought Celtic could have seen the game out. Little did I know what was going to happen. But yeah, good goal from Matt. And like you say, getting in behind that defence, that effectiveness that Forrest brought. We didn't really see it much actually throughout the 90. Like Alistair Johnston getting involved and getting forward, getting to the byline. And one of the few times we did, it's no coincidence that a goal was scored from it.
No, Adam Ida, as you say, he gets some other chances as well. There's a opportunity where he gets through, he gets slid through it, and he's charging down. And does he get robbed of the ball? Some folk are shouting for a penalty. When you're there in the stadium, was there a feeling that there was anything in that?
Nah.
Certainly when you watch it back, I don't think it's a bit of coming together, isn't it? Rather than that. But then he does manage to put the ball in the net, but unfortunately he's about a fortnight offside. So
yeah.
it just sort of sums up where we're at with that point. Are you starting to feel that, Steve-O said here with some of the chances, I spoke about Miovski. We've seen him score against us today. And we sort of asked the question, and it was like, are we maybe being made to forget about that we were supposedly interested in Miovski by the signing of Adam Ida? And yes, I've been singing his praises, but he does get a good few opportunities. He gets put into a few positions and he doesn't quite come off. Is that just one of those days at the office, or is it maybe a wee bit more telling about him?
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's both sides to the argument, because in big games this season he has came up trumps. Hibs away, Motherwell away, and he's had some other good moments. But today, not too good. Like you said, going back to the point on Miovski, if Miovski was playing for Celtic, they probably would have had a couple of goals, because he has a really good clinical striker. His place in the PFA Team of the Year that came out this morning was absolutely warranted. But up until today, he hadn't scored in a while. I play fantasy football, and a lot of people had removed him from their teams because he'd not been scoring. But in a big game, unlike Ida today, he scores. And yeah, a positive performance from him. Miovski, I really do like him. I was a big advocate for Celtic signing him in January, but if they wanted him, they'd have probably had him in the door by now.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. And later on in the game, he has another big opportunity where he's in the centre of the box, and it's another one of those ones that's got you tearing your hair out and cussing him, and he completely fresh airs it. These are the kind of chances in these big matches that we really need to be converting. And a semi-final's a one-off game. But these remaining league games that we've got, they're also essentially one-off mini cup finals.
Yeah.
If you're getting chances like this dropping to you, you've got to be putting them away. Adam Ida, he gets away with it today in terms of that, just simply because we go on and win. But another day when you don't go to penalty kicks, that's fizzling out to a draw, and we've really got some work to be doing there, if you know.
Yeah, definitely. The finishing aspect today, there was a few chances that went a beg, and Ida should have had 1 or 2 goals, like I said, and he has been excused with the fact Celtic won today. But apart from today, like I've said, I think he's done pretty well in a Celtic jersey. There's no getting away from 7 goals and 2 assists in 10 league games. And a lot of people say stats, you shouldn't analyse with stats, etc. And you look at his performances, even without the stats, he brings a different dynamic to the front line, something that Kyogo cannot do, that type of physicality. So there are positives about him, but in a game like today, if you're going to be spending £6 million, £7 million on a striker, you're wanting them to score in a semi-final like today.
Yeah. Well, the drama wasn't over, was it? As we say, Hollywood, Hampden. It's 3 each. Oh, do we need to relive it? Do we need to say it? Because you know what I'm going to say? Let's say it in chorus. It's the same ball again. The same ball. Cross ball. Scales. Johnson. Hoylett. Oh, the same characters coming round. Johnson again. Not interested. Stands off. It just sails over us once again. Listen, I'm going to highlight this because it's been says here, Snitch, is Scales the scapegoat? I know he's getting some heavy pelters here, I know that, but I can only talk with what I see with my eyes. He is lost again.
Yeah,
completely lost. And McDonald's there for the same goal again, 3 each.
Yeah, I thought I was seeing a replay of the equaliser at the end of normal time. It was the exact same. And when you have the exact same goal and people were culpable before, it's going to be the exact same people who are culpable again. And that was the case. One of the main things in football when you're trying to defend a cross, in the first instance, you want to stop the cross from happening. And that has not happened. There's not been a great effort to make that happen. But when the cross comes in at the same time, you've got to defend it better, and they didn't. Joe Hart potentially could come for it, like I said earlier, but at the same time, centre-half's got to deal with it, and they didn't, and McDonald goes in at the back post, and it's a free header. Scales doesn't even make an attempt to get the ball. It's a free header. And when you're conceding free headers in the box, you're going to get punished, and Celtic were.
It's, this is the thing, and we don't want to continually flog a dead horse here, but this is, we always talk about, or Rodgers always talks about, processing information. You can process the information after the event. Now, this is the same goal that we were talking before we came on. It's the same goal that cost us at Motherwell. It's the same goal that cost us against Kelly at home. It's the same goal, as you said, that we've seen in European games, Atletico Madrid as well. It's the same goal. It's the same ball. It's defenders doing the same mistakes, not engaging, standing off, and as I say, and not even realising the guys that they're up against. Forget just letting a ball get in, but realising when players are making an impact. Junior Hoylett, there's about 5 instances in this match that he is absolutely punishing our defence with great balls into the box and just, game intelligence. He knows what to be. Players aren't tracking his run. They're not finding him. They're allowing it to happen right before their eyes. This is Aberdeen, as you said at the start of the show, an Aberdeen that could find herself getting dragged into a relegation battle. When we look towards a final for this tournament, that could either be against Rangers, to say what you will about them, or it could be against a team in Hearts that we've had difficulty about. And then we've got Hearts and them coming up in fixtures 2 and 3, the split. Better teams such as them, they punish us more than Aberdeen, do they not?
Yeah, they would have. Certainly would have. Aberdeen. Listen, they did have, it was pretty much a free hit for them today, and they appointed the new manager during the week, and that's maybe why there was a bit more zip about their play, combined with the fact it was a semi-final of a cup competition, and that's all they have to play for between now and the end of the season, because they're in the bottom 6, and realistically, as a club, it would be a massive shock to see them go down. So maybe that comes into it as well, but you've got to do better. Defence is just, it's been one of the points for focus all season that's just been poor, and not many clean sheets. Well, they got one at St Mirren, but conceding 3 goals at Ibrox. I know it's Ibrox, and it's going to be a tough game anyway, but conceding 3 goals there and conceding 3 goals today as well, it's not great.
Yeah, no. Well, the game fizzles out. We reap what we sow. We fail to take chances. We fail to take key chances that could put the game to bed. We end up finding ourselves in a scrappy battle. We continually allow the same mistakes. We find ourselves 3 each and we go to penalty kicks. It's not what anybody wants to be sitting watching, is it? How's at this point? How's the crowd around you? What's the murmurings for the fan base where you were sitting?
It was actually quite strange, and obviously Aberdeen get the goal right at the end of the second half extra time, and naturally they're going to be the team with momentum because of that. And the Aberdeen fans were raucous, they were singing, and the Celtic end was pretty quiet. Whether that be down to nerves, whether that be down to the fact you just conceded a late equaliser and you're going to penalties when you shouldn't have, I'm not sure. But the Aberdeen end was raucous and the Celtic end was, at least where I was sitting, maybe different in other parts of the ground where fans were. It was pretty quiet and pretty nervy. It's the first time competitively I've actually seen Celtic in a penalty shootout and go to extra time as well. So for myself, it was nervy to say the least. You actually get a sick feeling in your stomach at that moment before the penalty kicks are being taken. It was just horrible. And that as well, combined with the fact we shouldn't have even been in that situation, made it probably even worse.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the relief when Hart saved the last one was unreal.
Yeah, we'll get the penalties come, and well, there was a wee surprise in there, was there not? So let's just get through the key headlines here. I think all the penalties, perhaps that we see scored in the first 5, they're fairly good. They're fairly good hits. They're fairly confident. Other than Bernardo, I think he gets away with one. I think he doesn't. I hope he doesn't play poker because his eyes looked at that corner where he was putting that ball and it just manages to get in. As far as Aberdeen's penalties go, again, we were fortunate because, they had Shinnie missing. He would have probably taken a penalty. They have Miovski. He goes off injured. He would, of course, taken a penalty. And there's 2 that Hart's perhaps unlucky with, is they're not great hits. They just creep under his body and go into the net. But then, as the tagline says, Hollywood Hampden. I can't believe I'm saying it. Joe Hart steps up for a penalty. They've got a miss. They've scudded the post. And we're thinking, here we go. Here we go. Now, listen, I've been singing Joe Hart's praises. I love Big Joe Hart, right? I think that for me, he is maybe again a sad indictment of where we are, but he's in the picture for Celtic's Player of the Year 100%. Simply because of some key saves we made when we were walling that maybe prevented loss. I'm sorry. Joe Hart taking a penalty in a semi-final of a cup at Hampden. And I know folk will point to me to Ederson taking a penalty. Yep, that happened. I don't care about Ederson. I care about Celtic. It is completely, for me, unacceptable. It is embarrassing. It's arrogant. It's arrogant from Celtic. It's arrogant from Joe Hart. No, in fact, is it arrogant from Joe Hart? No, it's not, because he shouldn't be in the position. I credit him. I say well done for having the brass, the confidence to say, let me hit a penalty. However, your manager, your captain, anybody with half a brain cell has to turn around and say, Joe, see if it gets deep into sudden death, you might have to hit one. We're all right with it. But in the first 5, come on.
It was a bit surprising, to say the least, when obviously the players do the walk when they go to take a penalty. And I was saying this straight after the game, as soon as the Celtic players were going to take it, Joe Hart had the ball straight away and he was giving it to them to avoid that psychological play coming into it where they have to go up to the goal line, pick up the ball. The process just gets even longer and they eventually miss. And that didn't happen for Joe Hart's one. And he was immediately shouting straight away, where's the ball? Give me the ball. Where's the ball? There's shades of that video that went about of him saying, give me the effing ball. He was playing for England. And I thought he was just getting it back to give it to the next player who was stepping up, but no one was stepping forward. And you come to this strange realisation that Joe Hart's taking a penalty. I never think I'd utter those words in my life, unless it was a pre-season game, because we've seen him scoring for Man City. But yeah, I think, I don't know how to feel about it. Because Celtic won, you can look back and perhaps have a wee bit of leverage and not be too angry with it. But if Celtic lost today, Joe Hart, along with the likes of Liam Scales, is one of the main scapegoats. If you miss a penalty, there's no really anything worse you can do, especially if you lose the shootout. So, but he stepped up, and like you said, fair play to him for having the guts to do that and leadership to do that. But I don't know, there's probably someone better placed to take it. Tomoki Iwata, for example, when he stepped up, I thought Tomoki's was one of the best penalties, actually.
A great penalty. I'm glad you said that. And all I could think about when that went in, and sorry to cut you off there, I see Phil turns around and says he doesn't have an issue with Hart taking the penalty, but it does seem as if there's an apprehension from some of the outfielders to come and do it.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree that. So there's maybe a mental weakness in them to do that, because as you say, Iwata takes a fantastic penalty. Johnson steps up and he trundles one in the net, but he still scores.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I know it's hard. Like, listen, if Joe scored the penalty, he's an absolute hero. Just think about it. If he scores a penalty to win Celtic the shootout in one of the last games of his career, it's brilliant scenes. And maybe that has come into it as well, that he's retiring at the end of the season. See if Celtic had a shootout and Joe Hart hadn't announced he's retiring and everything was fine and dandy and we thought he was going to stay beyond the summer, would he have taken a penalty today? I don't know.
I mean, this is the thing. This is the big concern. I don't want to flog this dead horse here, but it is something that I think is. I'm just completely and utterly baffled. Yes, you can chop it up two ways. It's either a reflection on the players who didn't want to step forward. It's a positive reflection on Joe Hart, as we say, for having that bravery to go up and take one. But we get away with it, and that is the thing. We get away with it, but I can't say this enough. I just feel that it is arrogant. It's unnecessary. It's as you say, it's almost as if, and Paddy joked about it. It's almost as if, Big Joe, he's retiring. Let's give him a hurrah. No, let's not. Let's not. Let's get the job done, because people like myself are on here right now, and I'm criticising it. But imagine the criticism that would have and rightfully came our way afterwards if that didn't go our way. And I know that's complete make believe, because it isn't the case. But we need to be, as a club and as a manager and as a captain, responsible. We need to make the best decisions to get over the line, and I just felt that was an unnecessary risk to take.
Yeah,
I think managed to get out of jail with.
I think you've got two sides to the argument. Obviously, you've got yourself unnecessary, and partly agree with that. Comments after the game from one of the players, or Brendan Rodgers, that said Joe was practicing penalties all week, and they knew it was in the plan that if the game did go to penalties, Joe was going to take one. So you've got that side of it, but at the same time, you can put your argument onto it and say that, well, he shouldn't have even been practicing them in the first place, because that's not his job. In a shootout, the keeper's job is to save the penalties. Maybe in the modern day, like mentioned Ederson earlier, maybe it is to step up and take one. But outfield, the main role of the goalkeeper in football is to use their hands and stop the ball going in the net, not to step up and take a kick from 12 yards. Maybe he'll do it in the game, the Legends game v Borussia Dortmund at the end of the season. Maybe that'll be his last hurrah, trying to make amends.
Put him up front. Give him a number 9 shirt and fire him up front if you want, for a laugh.
Exactly.
I really don't care what you do there. You know, as John says, listen, I know that I'm perhaps being hypercritical of him, and it is hypercritical, if and buts. He does save the day. You know what? He does, and he ends up with a good save. But as we said, this channel will always be about calling things as you see it. Sometimes fans don't like when we say unpopular views and not everything's great and it's a brilliant laugh and look, we saved the day and this and that. You know, yes, I am ecstatic that we won that. I am sure that all of you, every you out there watching, are ecstatic, and you'll all be completely mentally drained, physically and mentally drained, as am I, as is Josh, as is that player. Hart will be completely overwhelmed and done in at the end of the day. But sometimes you've just got to be honest and call madness, and I will continue to do that. And I thought it was one we get away with. But let's shelf it and put it to bed, because He saves it, and we go through. He manages to do the best turn ever, didn't he?
Yeah, it was
0 to hero, and that is the one thing for a goalkeeper though. He's got that gift. He can do both.
Yeah, 100%. In the shootout before it started, I thought Joe Hart was going to save at least one, and he comes up trumps at the right time. Really good save, and it sees Celtic into the final. As much as our criticism wasn't even on Joe Hart for taking the penalty, for missing the penalty, it was just more the argument that he shouldn't have been taken on in the first place. We don't criticise Joe Hart for taking the penalty. He's stepped up, he's had the guts, and he's done well and stepped up like a leader should do. He's one of the key leaders in the squad. He's wore the armband several times, and boy, did he make up for it. A great for him to save that, especially after he missed the penalty. So all credit to Joe Hart for me today for saving Celtic in the end. And all credit would be going to him anyway if he scored the penalty. So
yeah, no, I mean that's the thing, isn't it? As we say, it is Hollywood. He steps up, and you're thinking, I'm furious, and I'm shocked, and I'm thinking, Fisk is in. This will be brilliant. and then obviously it doesn't. But as we say, all's well that ends well. He saves it. We're through. We'll be facing one off Hearts or Rangers after tomorrow's result. It's relief for me. It's I take the result very happily. I take the result. I wouldn't, that fundamentally is all that matters. We're breaking down because that's what we're here to do. We're here to break down performances. We're here to break down how it went. We were slagging off Mr. Clement for saying that the performance was good, albeit the result was not. And I rightly says, as did many, it's irrelevant what the performance is the result at the end of the day. And I think that's very much true today, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And in cup football, you want to get over the line, and the result is all that matters. In cup football, if that was a league today, you'd be a bit more concerned. But cup football, Celtic into the final, they done eventually the business in the end. And I think the game, penalty shootout in the game as a whole, is just a summary of Celtic's season in a nutshell. An absolute roller coaster of emotion for fans. For the neutral, it's a tremendous game to watch. If you're tuning in, you'd be thinking whether you're watching a Scottish Cup game or a Champions League game. The quality and the entertainment that was on show today. But for fans, it was stress, roller coaster of emotions, and in the end, cup football, all that matters is get over the line. We said it after the Livingston game, where Celtic won 4-2 at Parkhead. It was 2 each going into the last 5 minutes. Getting over the line is all that matters, and that was the case today. No,
that's it. So as we say, as we go into it, we've got a final to look forward to. We get to reset, we get to refocus. There's lots to take away from that game. We then end up listening to the manager at the end. I don't know if you saw that. It was a bit peculiar. So who had on random Brendan Rodgers bingo card that he was going to bring up a story about Anton Rogan missing a penalty? Who had that madness in their manager's post-match chat?
Absolutely no one. But going by some of the things Brendan has said in the past, like stories and anecdotes that he's given, perhaps it is a bit expected to bring up something like that. And obviously he's high on emotion after the game. He's just saw his team into a final and a penalty shootout. He's going to be in quite a chipper mood and bringing up things like that live on telly. Not expected, but it's part of the fun, as he would probably call it. And listen, he was rightly happy after the game. Big Anton Rogan. I've never seen him play. I didn't even know the incident Brendan Rodgers was talking about. But at the end of the day,
Google, who is Anton Rogan?
I know that's what I'll be doing later tonight. I'll be looking up that penalty that he missed. But thankfully, in the end, it wasn't a mirror image of that against Aberdeen. And maybe if Liam Scales stepped up, fellow Irishman, maybe he would have not scored in similar fashion to Rogan. But it didn't come to that.
I'm glad that he didn't stay. I'm glad he didn't step up. I've criticised Scales enough. The last thing I need him to do is step up and miss a penalty as well. But as we say, look, we've went through it. We've picked the bones off it. And just before we finish off, as just to generalise then, looking through the squad, as we say, cup football, it is fundamentally about the result. It's about getting there, and we are getting there. It's going to be a long time before that final comes round the corner. It's almost irrelevant who we're going to be playing because we've just got to focus on ourselves. Of course, there's still a league to be won, and it could be a final where we find ourselves, hopefully, touch wood, going for a double and defending our Scottish Cup. But if this roller coaster were to go into another corkscrew and a dive, as we've seen, it could also be a cup final that could potentially be facing Rangers, God forbid, going for a treble.
Yeah.
So what's your thoughts on that?
Well, it's going to be a massive game no matter what, if Celtic win the league or not. It would be huge for both club seasons. At the end of the day, Rangers going for a treble, Celtic going for a double. Whatever the circumstances are, it's going to be huge. That's considering Rangers get to the final in the first place, so they've still got to overcome Hearts, who have never actually beaten them at Hampden, so I don't have a lot of confidence in the Jambos tomorrow. But yeah, it'll be an interesting game no matter what. It is something to look forward to. 25th of May is the day Celtic won the European Cup in 1967, so can that similar date be harnessed by the players this time around? Hopefully so. But I think the result, the performance today, I think a lot of Celtic fans have been in a boisterous mood over the last week, given Rangers' results and their performances and putting Celtic back top of the league. And rightly so, because that's the roller coaster of following Celtic in football, that when other teams have dips, you're going to be a bit chippy, you're going to be happy. But you've got to look a bit closer to home and think, well, Celtic have to go to Dens Park. They have to beat Hearts at Celtic Park. Then they face a derby. For me at least, the performance today took a bit more confidence away from me going into those matches, that actually it's not all roses in the garden and it's party time yet. There is still work to be done in the remainder of this season in the league games to come.
Yeah, no, that's, and that's what we need to always remember, keep an eye on. Obviously, over the past sort of week, we've done a couple of shows and we spoke about the positives. I certainly done one where I was looking at the comments for a wee sort of eye-opener social experiment on the scoreboard from our opposing fans. Also reacted to them having the draw at Dens. But as I continually said all the way through this, and it'll be the message that I'll say until it is out the way and done, we are still in very much a title race. We still are very much up against it, and we have a lot of work to do. The one thing that we've not really, and yourself being a season ticket holder, I'm sure you'll be able to agree, is you've never really been able to hang your hat on this team for a consecutive amount of performances or a sustained run. There's always been these peaks and troughs, is there not?
Yeah, it's been an inconsistent season. Just in terms of results and performances, there's a struggle to think of a run of 5 or 6 games where the result has been good and the performance has been good as well, which is in complete contrast to last season when you look at things, the way Celtic were playing, scoring goals left, right and centre, winning games, going in big runs. It's quite the opposite. So just don't count the chickens before the eggs hatch. As I would say, that, like you say, the title race is well and truly still on. 3 points is nothing. Celtic have still got to go and play Hearts, who beat them at Parkhead earlier in the season, beat them at Tynecastle, still got to play Rangers at Parkhead, and got to go to Dens Park, which has been proved to be, by Rangers during the week, a tough place to go. But if you win those 3 games, then the title is more or less back at Parkhead, but a long way to go.
No, absolutely. I can't agree more. As we say, that's us. Thank you for everybody that's taking the time to join us. I know that it's been a slightly dragged out. It's almost been a stressful podcast as much as it was stressful watching that game, because as it says, we've got a victory, and we, believe it or not, no matter how we look, we're happy. We're happy to be over the line. We're happy to be in a cup final. And it is a relief. For me today, the overarching emotion was sheer relief.
Yeah,
I am happy, but it is relief. And this season can't end quick enough. It has put me through the ringer. I cannot remember the last time I felt like this in a season. And fortunately for yourself, Josh, you've pretty much just see Celtic dealing out beatings constantly all the time.
This is the first real title race in close season that I've really had. I've got a couple of wrinkles added to my forehead thanks to this season. But 6 games to go. Thankfully, only 6 games to go. It should be interesting to see how it goes. And listen, if Celtic get 4 wins out of 6 in the crucial games that come, then we could be looking at a double. But there's business to be done, games to be played, players to find out who's fit, etc. A couple of knocks today. It's tough to wait and see.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we will be back through the week. We'll be back for one of our wee uncensored general chat shows at some point. It'll be definitely be myself, and it may well be Josh, it may be Paddy. We'll see where the schedules are, but either way, get yourself making sure you're subscribed and you'll get notified as and when that's coming out. Hopefully, off the back of that, we'll get some more positives tomorrow. As Josh says, they've never beat them at Hampden in their entire history. Don't hold your breath, but as we've seen today, twists and turns, take nothing for granted.
Yep.
Let's just hope that it's going to be a result that will keep us smiling and put another positive in as we look towards not only trying to secure the league in the next 5 games, but working towards hopefully a double. That would be nice, wouldn't it?
It would be lovely, but a lot of work to be done.
Absolutely. Well, listen, it is now nearly 11 o'clock at night. I'm back up for work in the morning. I'm sure people want to get to their bed. Enjoy your rest of your Saturday night. We do really appreciate you taking the time out to stay with us this late on to listen to us talk about a stressful game. I'm pretty sure you didn't want to have to relive it all, but we are grateful, we're very grateful that you did take the time to join us. As I say again, just make sure that you continue to make sure and subscribe, like our videos, share our content. We're really appreciative of how much you have really engaged with the channel over the past few days. It is truly appreciated. So anyway, whatever you're doing with the rest of your Saturday night, enjoy it. Get a drink. It'll settle your nerves because we'll be back for more games next week. Hail, hail. Enjoy the rest of your night.